All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, California Recovery. It's Wade tapping in. I think the purpose of the video today is going to be the purpose of the 12 steps, right? So we hear a lot about in AA or CA or CMA, about the 12 steps, but a lot of us don't know the purpose, what's the purpose of working the 12 steps. So really one of many reasons, to work the steps, or the purpose of it, is to gain a spiritual experience. We suffer from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. And it talks about that in We Agnostics, page 44. So if we really truly believe that we suffer from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer, the 12 steps, man, it's going to get us tapped into the power of God, right? It's going to have us access the power of God, have our spiritual awakening, our psychic change, our spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it. The 12 steps tap me in. They're a pathway, they're a blueprint to power. And really it's precisely how to access the power of God, to have the spiritual awakening. But another purpose of the steps is to get unblocked of everything that's blocking me from the power and within myself from others, right? All that fear, all that pride, all that ego, guilt, shame, remorse, resentment, self-pity, frustration, bewilderment, unfinished amends, harms that I've caused or that you have caused, right? All that, the steps are also a pathway to get free of all that stuff that's in between me and the power. Because all that stuff is spiritual baggage. It's going to cause blockage between you and I. It's going to cause blockage within myself. And it's going to cause blockage between me and God, right? It's going to block me from that experience that I need with God, that spiritual experience, right? Because how can I, if page 55 talks about the idea that the great reality or God resides deep down within us, it is only there that he may be found, right? In the last analysis, it is only there that he may be found. So it's telling me that the power that I need to access resides deep down within me. But if I have all that resentment, all that fear, all that pride, all that ego, the guilt, the shame, the remorse, self-pity, playing God, selfishness, if I have unfinished amends, harms that I've caused that I haven't made right with my fellows, my brothers and my sisters, how am I going to access the power that resides deep down within me if I have all that stuff residing deep down within me in the same place that the power resides, right? So the steps are like, one of the main purposes is like a spiritual Drano. Right, it's going to unclog the drain within me so that I can finally access the power that's been there the whole time. It's like a lot of us think that, we don't have the power already deep down within us now. It's just like we do. There's no power in me. It's not like I acquired this power, by coming to AA or Cocaine Anonymous or Crystal Meth Anonymous, and I just magically acquired it. Right? It's like the power is already there. It's just I need a pathway to get me free of all that stuff that resides deep down within me so that I can access the power that's already there. Right? And so really, like a lot of us, we don't know how to access the power of God. How do you do that? Right? And the steps are the pathway to access, not only access the power of God and have my spiritual experience, but also unblock me of everything that's in the way between my spiritual experience with God. Right? It's kind of like a clogged drain. Right? It's like the water goes down the drain, but if there's blockage, it backs up and comes back up. It can't flow all the way through. And that's how it is with our with all of our spiritual baggage, with all of our blockage, right? It blocks me out from the power, so it doesn't go through, and I can't access the power that resides also deep down within me, right? Because it blocks the experience, right? So that's why we write inventory, make amends, and go to 6 and 7, and go to God in 6 and 7. Or we do 10 and 11, all this stuff. Right, steps 1 through 9, 1 to get me clear on what I suffer from, 2 through 9, 2 and 3, getting acquainted with this power, right? Seeing my life run on self-will could hardly be a success without God. And then 4 through 9 is the clearing up process. That's all the stuff that needs to get cleared away, right? So I can finally live in the world of the Spirit in 10 and 11, right? But how can I fully enter the world of the Spirit in 10 and 11, or have this experience of the 10-step promises, placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected, right? With alcohol or drugs, whatever. Seldom be interested in liquor or drugs, right? How am I going to get to that place, right? It's like if I don't do 4 through 9 to get cleared away of everything that's blocking me from the power and from you and within myself, right? All that stuff is going to be blocking my spiritual experience. That's why if we don't do 4 through 9, we never get cleared up, and we really aren't able to have our full spiritual awakening. A lot of us getting drunk and loaded again. So we don't finish amends. We don't talk about those secrets in the 5th step. We don't do our inventory as well. A lot of us don't do 4 through 9, right? At least not thoroughly. And that's why a lot of us invariably turn to easier methods that the book talks about, right? Until I told someone else my whole life story, right? And then clear away all that stuff in 9. So really it's like, that's the deal. The purpose of the video is simple. Like, why am I working these 12 steps? Like, what is the purpose? It's important to know that, right? If I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, reworking the steps once a year, it's important to know why I'm doing so, right? But another purpose of the steps is to treat the mental obsession for drugs and alcohol. So it's like the mental obsession, right, is treated by the recovery process. That piece, that bottom piece of the triangle and the circle and triangle, recovery treats my mind. It treats my mental obsession, the mental piece of my illness, right? Just like meetings or unity treats the physical allergy or the craving, because no one's passing around alcohol or drugs in the meeting. I'm safe, can't stick it in my system, kicking off the craving. Just like the spiritual malady, the last part, the spiritual piece, is treated by service, right? So we have 3-part illness to alcoholism or drug addiction. We have a 3-part solution. So that other purpose of the 12 steps is to treat my mental obsession, right? That's why triangle, 3 sides, 3-part solution, 3-part illness, right? So in conjunction, with all these things that I suffer from, actively going to meetings 3 to 4 times a week, right? Actively working the steps, actively working with others, speaking when asked to speak, right? All forms of service that are asked of me, right? Lead a meeting, share in a meeting if somebody calls on me, all that stuff, right? Got to treat all 3 parts of my illness because it's a 3-part deal, right? So just to recap, purpose of the steps, treat my mental obsession. Second part, access the power of God, have my spiritual experience, tap into the power. The steps tap me into the power of God. Last part, clear away of everything that's blocking me from the power. Those are 3 main purposes of the 12 steps, right? A lot of us think it's just one, it serves one function, and it serves multiple functions, working the steps, right? And then, so the last part is clearing away everything that's blocking me from the power, right? I can't access the power because I'm blocked with all that stuff that was aforementioned, right? And it's like, if I'm blocked, I can't access power. Can't access it because I'm blocked. So the steps unblock me. The steps also allow me to access the power of God and tap me into the power. It's a blueprint to power. It's a conduit to power, right? Just like metal is a conduit to electricity, right? It taps me in, right? An amazing thing that God showed me along the way in step 2 was that it's an amazing thing that was showed to me. And it's really if I got to see that God is absolutely real, right? Because if the steps are a conduit to power, just like the metal, you plug a prong into a electricity socket, right? So the steps are like the plug and the metal that go into the metal in the socket. That's like the steps. But if there was no electric current running on the other side of that to tap that power plug into, the vacuum cleaner, the iPhone charger, the Android charger, none of that would work, right? God is the electrical current on the other side of that socket, right? The steps are simply the plug, the metal that goes in the socket, right? God is the electrical current. So I got to see as I moved through the steps that I already knew that God was 100% real based off my spiritual experience. But I knew even more so as I was traveling through that if the steps are a blueprint or a conduit to God, right? If God was not real, there would be no power to tap into on the other side, right? The steps would not work without God, right? Because there would be nothing to tap into. There would be no power to tap into, electrical current on the other side of the socket. So I got to see, 1, the purpose of the steps, those 3 purposes. But 2, I got to see that absolutely God has to be real. Because if these steps provide me a spiritual awakening, a pathway to tap me into the power of God, that occurring on the other side, if it's not there, the steps would not work and I'd still be drinking and getting loaded, and so would you. So I love you guys. Support the channel, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to bring out consistent content. I know I said that before, but I'm really focused on this, man. I want to get this message out there. Thank you for all the new subscribers, the feedback. I take everything to heart that you guys say. And I just love you guys. Until next time, tap in with me, California Recovery.